Wednesday, already Wednesday. I can't believe it's Wednesday again. And it's time for our Wednesday live stream here on the Urban Gardener. And I'm Enoch Graham. I am your host for our live stream today. I hope that everybody is having a great week and everything is growing well in all of your gardens. And let's see here. Just want to get something set up here. And again, thank you all for joining with me here this week too, and especially all of you here live. Get in the comment section there and let us know you're here. Let us know where you're growing from. Let us know if you got any questions or comments or anything like that. And again, also thank you to all of you who are watching our replay. Really, really great for you to join with us in the replay. And got a lot growing on this week in the gardens. Again, it's still getting really, really warm weather here on the West Coast. It's kind of a bit of a different story for a lot of people more towards the East Coast who's still dealing with some really, really cold weather and cold nights. Here it just seems to be getting warmer and warmer. I'm actually literally starting to sweat right here in my living room like it's summertime already. So yeah, just yeah, just getting ready this week for getting out some of our starts that I've had growing in some of the videos you've seen recently. I started doing some soil block starts. We've been getting a lot of that out and starting to seed out a lot of the stuff that we are going to be growing for our warmer season this summer. So a lot of things are going on this week. We've been putting out some videos and all that sort of stuff we'll talk about here in just a little bit. And it looks like, hola, yes, it is Cinco de Mayo, absolutely, as you can tell by the title. I hope the title doesn't dissuade certain people from coming to the live stream and thinking that it's like a Spanish-speaking live stream. I was kind of worried about that when I put that on there and all that. But it is Cinco de Mayo. I thought I'd have a little bit of fun with the title there. And, you know, Jardinería el Cinco de Mayo, which is basically gardening on May the 5th, and that's basically it. We're gardening today, May the 5th, Cinco de Mayo, and hola to all of you out there who are tuning in with us and checking out our live stream. Yeah, like I mentioned too, got a lot of things going on in the gardens and a lot of things going on as far as videos and all of that we're releasing here on the Urban Gardener. So I hope that you've all been tuning in to all of our videos. You've been getting a chance to check out all the sort of things that we've got growing on. Just trying to keep a good pace with what we are doing in our gardens right now. Just, you know, got a couple of other things I'm fitting in there too from stuff I tried and wanted to put out before. Like this week, I think I'm going to be putting out a transplant video, which I filmed like a couple of weeks ago. So we'll be putting that out as well. But lots of things going on, lots of great things growing on here in the gardens. And yeah, I really need that water. Like I said, it's warm around here. I've got to be like well into the 80s today. It's just really, really warm. And already just the very beginning of May now. And just really wondering how warm and scorching it's going to be for us here this summer, as I said before in other live streams and all of that too. But yeah, so one of the things, again, you know, it is Cinco de Mayo. And I was going to thinking about as I was checking out a couple of different comments and things that have been going on with the videos and certain things like that. You know, I do, if people watch the videos, you'll know if you watch all the way to the very end that I put in like a small little blooper reel of, you know, outtakes of the videos that we shoot. And a lot of times there's just a lot of noises and interruptions and things that happen when you live in a city. So there's tons of things. In this last video we had emergency vehicles. I get airplanes, either low-flying personal aircraft flying around to big commercial jets that fly over our area, as well as helicopters, motorcycles, big trucks and big engines, all sorts of things will always seem to kind of get in when I'm trying to film or do certain things as far as making the videos. And so some of those things make it into our blooper reels. In fact, I think the last video ended with me on the very last sentence of the ending of the video, and someone started a saw, right at the very end. But I was like, nah, we're gonna keep that. I'm not gonna start that over just because of that saw at the last moment. But kind of tying in with Cinco de Mayo, though, is the one blooper I can't share with everybody. And it happens probably most of the time when I'm filming videos. I live in a neighborhood here in my city that is got a large Hispanic population. So it is not uncommon in a nice warm afternoon, especially on the weekends, that you'll get a ton of mariachi music just kind of blasting out through the neighborhood. And for the most part, when I'm out there working and all of that, I have no problems. It's actually really kind of fun. It's okay. I kind of like that and all. But a lot of the times it starts to happen right as I'm getting filming and all of that. And there's several clips that I've had to edit out of videos where I'm talking and like some sort of music will start in the background. And a lot of times, and the reason why I can't share those is because YouTube's copyright. So if I put just a blooper in at the very end of the video, an outtake of music playing in the background interrupting me, well, that'll give me a copyright strike on YouTube, and I won't be able to share the video or monetize it or do certain things when it comes to being able to share it. The limit its viewing on the platform. And so so those are the outtakes that you don't get to see that happen a lot, and I thought I'd mention that here on Cinco de Mayo because it's mostly mariachi Hispanic music that gets blaring in the background, and I have to cut and edit those sort of things out or start things over when I'm filming, and in that, like I said, that kind of brings kind of a problem for YouTube trying to figure out the copyrights. In fact, in the last video, when I was trying to upload that last video I put up, there was a moment, and I think it was in the bloopers, where a car passed by. And the car was playing some music. You couldn't tell the music. It wasn't really, I don't know if you could really get it, but YouTube's got these algorithms and these kind of things that just, it can hear all of the background music note for note and knows whether that's some other copyrighted material. And there was something in that moment of that little clip I put in the bloopers there that made the upload take like an extra hour for the YouTube algorithm to really be able to decipher whether or not that was actually some sort of copyrighted material in the video. So, those sort of things can happen when you're trying to make videos. You're not really allowed to utilize certain music and certain things in making and editing these videos, and which is also one that's been really kind of prevalent on the channel. If you go to the main channel page and look through the videos, I have the Welcome Back Wednesday live video that I put out as like a little promotion, and I went and I used the theme song for that old television show back in the, I think it was like late 70s, early 80s, called Welcome Back Cotter. So it's welcome back, and all of that. And it's copyright strike. I can't, I can only use that in certain areas and certain things. I can't earn anything off of it, and YouTube will limit how many people are actually going to be able to see that video because of it. So, but I decided to keep that one. I'll just kind of use that in a limited manner just for the promotion of our Wednesday live returning and all of that. All right, let's see. I have a raised bed called a keyhole bed, and I put logs, branches in the bottom and cover them with cardboard and grass and green things. In the middle is a place for kitchen waste. Right on, excellent. So that's a good like self kind of composting type of bed. That's a really good idea. Being a keyhole, it gives you access through the middle, kind of around it and all of that. Putting the logs and the branches and all of that in the bottom, great idea. In fact, in my very last video we did, I took one of the beds. In fact, a couple of videos ago, we built a garden box. I built a new garden box that we put out on our back cement patio, and replacing that garden box was replacing a garden box that we had had there for several years, and during this last winter, it just kind of fell apart. Let's just say it was old. The bottom was kind of not holding up very well anymore, and so it kind of fell through. And I just decided at that point I was going to build a new one. It was a great chance to make a video on how I build our simple garden boxes that we use on our back patio. But this last video, I took that old box, and what we did is we repaired it, we fixed it, and we put it back to work. And so it's right outside of our garden right there. And I had a bunch of wood and logs that came from a tree that's just on the other side of the alleyway that we had cut back really a lot this last year. And so I had a lot of those logs, and to save space, to save time, and also to kind of build some space down at the bottom of our bed, utilizing what they call hugelkultur. Is using those logs and allowing them to break down over time, and get soil in there, all those microorganisms, all those sort of things will get to work down there. The fungi will start breaking down all of this wood, and all of that will eventually create and break down into great organic material that's now at the bottom of your bed that a lot of those roots can work their way down into. And with good soil life is good root life, and good root life is good plant life. And then obviously down the line, good plant life is good food that we're harvesting at the end of the season out of our garden beds. So I think that's a really great idea. I hadn't had much of a chance to try that before until now. So we now have a bed in our urban gardens where we're trying that hugelkultur method out too. So you go back, check out our very last video if you haven't had a chance, and you can see how we set that all up. It's in there. All right, and sorry it took some moment there. I wanted to explain that, but How to Gardens with us here on the live stream. Thank you very much. It's good to see you. It's good to see everybody again. Thank you all so much for joining me here on this live stream we're doing here every single Wednesday, 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time here on the West Coast. You'll have to check and see what time that is for you, whether you're in our other time zones here in the States, or if you're in other parts of the world too. Check what that matches up for you, but it's 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here every Wednesday. So we're going to get together and have a great little chat and talk about our gardens, talk about what's growing on, give you a chance, or give me a chance to share with you, some of these little behind the scene things when it comes to the videos, kind of some of the things that we got going in the gardens and all of that sort of stuff. So it's really great to see you all. And thanks again for joining with me. And if you have a chance, hit that thumbs up button, give this video a like, and let's see here. It's all interesting. I got my logs out of the Mississippi River. I hope they ain't contaminated. Well, I don't know. Being out of the river, they might have already had a good start in breaking down and all of that. You might have some organisms in there, and then when you get it into that bed, when that soil really starts to come alive and you start to get some of that breakdown eventually, like one of the big things to think about and to understand about this idea, though, is that this is really a long-term kind of idea with our garden beds. It's probably going to be a season or two before it's going to break down enough to really start giving us those real benefits that we're going to want to see in our gardens and all of that. But like I said, just the whole idea of it just really makes some good sense on creating some good biology down inside of your garden bed for your plants. Let's see. How to Garden says 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Yes, it's 8 p.m. Eastern Time for everybody. I figure it's a good kind of evening time, a little bit for both coasts, 8 p.m. on the East Coast, 5 p.m. here on the West Coast, and then from else around the world, it's probably in a whole bunch of different areas of your day. So if you are joining with us from anywhere else or checking that out in some of our live streams from other places, time zones around the world, I really appreciate that, especially if you're joining with us, like say it's really early or really, really late at night. Really great on you for coming here and spending some of your time with us here and sharing about our gardens. And again here, if you get a chance, for those of you who are watching on, say, a laptop or a computer, I believe the chat box is right over this way or down below if you're on mobile. And get in that chat box, let me know you're here, let me know what you got growing on, let me know where you're at, all of that. And yeah, I've been really busy in the garden. I didn't really think too much all about what I was going to get into as far as conversating with everybody today. Um, let's see here. So again, yeah. So what I've been actually really working on is getting a lot of some of the plants and starts that I've had, getting some of them finally out that I have right now. But the big project, because that's mostly done, has been getting things seeded for most of all of my warm weather crop stuff. Most of our peppers and tomatoes and even eggplants and all of that, I got started real early. They've been growing and are kind of growing here. I've got a lot of all of you guys that's kind of got all of our tomatoes are really growing really well. I got a lot of really great germination out of that, so I'm going to have some really great tomato starts to choose from for our gardens this year. And then the eggplants, I don't know what's about them and what their attitude is. Or at least with me, and in my opinion, the eggplants just really take their time in starting. They seem to be a lot more temperamental than peppers do. And peppers I like to get a really good head start on. In fact, right next to us is where all of our pepper starts are. LED lights. Let's see, I'll try to pull one out here real quick. Got them right here. And so we've got all of our pepper starts all growing. They're doing really well. And here in a few more weeks, we'll be getting them ready, and they'll have had a lot more opportunity to grow and get a good head start before our last frost date here. And then we'll be able to get all of them out into the gardens. But there's a lot of things that I can get started now and get starts going that'll be going mostly pretty directly into our gardens as soon as those starts get growing. A lot of things like, we got a lot of cucumbers going. I've got some melons. We've got our pumpkin that we're going to grow. I've got a certain variety of pumpkin that I'll be sharing with you guys that will be growing in our spot where we usually grow our pumpkins, if you've seen our channel before. And then our squash too. And I talked about this I think last week on the live stream, but I have a method that I utilize with squash that I'll be sharing with everybody here too in an episode coming up here in about another week or so, where I'll show you what I do when I get my squash a head start. And I have to do that. It's really, squash works really well if you just directly sow it for a lot of people in a lot of their gardens. But where I grow my gardens and where my squash grows, it's just a lot of pest pressure. And a lot of my starts, if I plant and direct seed my stuff right there, it'll be gone as soon as they start popping up out of the ground. And then I've had some survive, but they get so much pressure that it really holds back on the growth, and then I don't get the best growth in the long run. So I have to try to get a head start on my squash. And if anybody knows about squash, it doesn't like to be transplanted that very well. So I've come up with a method in a way that's actually worked for me this last year that I'm going to be working and utilizing again this year. I'll be sharing with everybody in an upcoming episode too. So keep an eye on our upcoming episode where we'll be seeding out and getting a lot of those seeds started for our summertime crops this year. And I'm really looking forward to all of that too, because the garden's really coming together really well this year. We've got a lot of really great things growing out there, and hopefully soon as we get a lot of this stuff planted out and all set up, we'll have the gardens all set up for the season and be able to get out and do a really good full garden tour videos and take you guys out and show you all of everything that we've got growing on this year and some of the changes and things that we're doing. If you saw the last episode, I just installed and put in an herb garden, which will be part of which is kind of, I got that wrong, but the herb garden I put out the video for, but it's kind of a part of a video I'm going to be making here coming up about setting up our gardens right outside here, and that'll be a video to look forward to, how we're setting things up, and that will be something that'll be growing and going all the way into the fall time, that will really be emphasizing on some of those garden beds as well. Although they will be growing things throughout our summertime, we're going to really focus a lot of our videos and a lot of our time on those beds specifically coming up this fall for our fall time and winter gardening that we're going to be doing this year. All right, let's catch up here a little bit. 8 p.m. Eastern time. I added tea to my garden, so happy to finally have it. Added some compost tea to your garden. If that's what you're talking about? I'm sure if you're mentioning tea, but yeah. In fact, that's a good comment there for me because we will. It's one of the things I'm working on and I'm setting up out there is a compost tea type of area, and I'm going to set that up, show everybody how I'm going to have that all set up, and hopefully I'm working on an interview with somebody, and hopefully work those two videos and those two ideas together, because it's all surrounding the idea of compost tea. And so I'm going to have a whole video on that sort of thing, because compost tea is something I really like to use around the gardens. But I've had kind of just a really, simple, easy setup that I've used. And I'm going to kind of set up a little more of a permanent type of thing that'll be going throughout the season. And we'll be able to be utilizing some really good compost tea that we'll be using throughout the season. So yeah, compost tea for your garden. It's a really good thing. And really simple too. There's simple and there's complex, and anywhere in between when it comes to compost tea really gives plants a good nutrients, good all sorts of things that get those microorganisms in your soil really going well, as well as some good for foliar feeding your plants too. It's just good to spray all over your plants and let them just feed on all that compost tea right through their leaves and stems and everything. See, you always have the best plants. I'm too impatient. My last seedlings were killed by fungus gnats. Oh, fungus gnats is such a horrible thing. We talk a lot about fungus gnats on our first day of spring live stream that I did with Christopher Bransdahl from Norway and Kangstar down in Texas. They joined us for that first day of live stream, and that was one of the things that we talked about a lot, was fungus gnats and problems with fungus gnats. I've just basically over time implemented some sort of a staged system for my different plants and different setup that I have here in the house, in order to try to keep that sort of thing to its minimum. It does happen, and when it does, I try to attack it as fast as I can and get the plants that I'm finding those gnats are coming from out of the area as soon as possible. But my best suggestion for most people is, if you're getting plants and you're bringing new plants or new soil into the situation, have have that soil or those plants and stuff in another room until you know for sure that it's not going to be spreading fungus gnats into your main growing areas. And that's, and you're going to need possibly some, maybe a garage space or something like that's away from your house if most of your plants are throughout your whole house, that sort of thing. But it can be really a problem when it comes down to it. For the most part, fungus gnats, if you have pretty established plants, aren't going to be that big of a deal. Just really, really annoying when it comes to bigger, larger, more established plants. But when you've got little seedlings like we've got with our pepper seedlings, or even when they're smaller. I mean, I think at this point that the root system of this plant is pretty good and pretty strong, and it's going to be able to withstand the pressure of those fungus gnat larvae that's in there, basically feeding off those little baby roots and all of that. And that's kind of what really, really is going to take out some of those really young seedlings and a lot of those young plants with fungus gnats, is because they're just going to eat on all those baby roots and not give those plants a good opportunity to be able to grow very well. All right, let's see here. Look forward to seeing that. Yes, absolutely. Make sure everybody, if you haven't already, I say it all the time in the videos, hit that bell notification button there with the subscribe button if you're subscribed with the channel. That way you'll be notified of our upcoming episodes, and you'll be able to keep up and follow along with some of these things as we're growing here and doing all that sort of stuff, as I take you along with my growing process with a lot of this sort of stuff as well too. And let's see. Growing with Jay is with us. Jay, thank you. Thanks for coming and joining with us again here this week on our live stream here on Wednesday. Growing with Jay says, hello, family. Yes, hello, family. All of our garden friends and family here joining with us. I'm glad all of you guys are here. Again, hit that thumbs up button if you get an opportunity. And also, if you haven't had a chance yet or haven't gotten into the chat box, let me know you're here. Let me know where you're growing from. Let me know what you got growing on in your gardens. If you got any questions about my gardens or anything else like that. We got Nancy with us. Hi, Enoch and friends. She says, oh my gosh, no fun. I was actually just talking about that with my daughter about a couple of weeks ago, and really, really, really sorry, Nancy, that you're having to go through that. That cannot be fun at all. Just one of those things that some of us who've had, chicken pox, right? Who have dealt with that, worry about having to deal with that later on in life. And so hopefully that is something that will be something you don't have to deal with very much longer anyways. Really thinking about you there. That's really here to all the great gardens. Yep. And Growing with Jay says Baltimore, Maryland, Zone 7. Excellent. So hopefully you're getting a good opportunity to get out there and your garden's growing really well up there in Zone 7. And for most everybody out there, I'm hoping you're getting some things really growing in your garden. I've been hearing a lot about some real wishy-washy weather out there that's going on, and people are still dealing with some real freezing nights. We are still, I think for the most part, most of us still just a few weeks away from our last frost date. So a lot of those real warm weather plants are just not ready to be getting outside quite yet. But hopefully all of you out there have got some things growing that you can get growing in the cooler weather. And let's see here. Everybody say hello. Jimmy Pickles Pepper Channel. Excellent. Good to see you, Jimmy. And thank you everybody again for joining with me here on Wednesday live stream here on the Urban Gardener. Lots of things growing on. For a lot of you who weren't here early on in the chat, I was kind of talking about our title of the video is called Cinco de Mayo, and I was kind of telling everybody about some of our outtakes that we do for our videos, and how there are outtakes that I can't share with everybody. And those outtakes are when I'm filming something in the video and there's music playing in the background, because anybody who makes videos on YouTube will know that that can get you a copyright strike and put some limitations to your ability to share your video and do all that sort of stuff. And one of the things I can't share is a lot of my neighborhood is a big Hispanic neighborhood, and so I get a lot of mariachi music that happens in the background of my videos sometimes, and I have to edit all those out, and I'm not able to share those in the bloopers and outtakes at the end of the videos that we do. And just thought I would talk about that. I thought that was kind of funny as I was talking with a few other people who've done some bloopers or have mentioned and commented on my bloopers and outtakes that we do at the end of the video. So it's always worth it to remember to watch the videos all the way to the very end, because you get that nice little treat of watching me mess up or some little stupid thing that's happening when we're shooting videos, and I save up some of those outtakes throughout my editing and throw them in at the end of the video for everybody. But yeah, I can't share the ones with music though, so you know. But I thought that was a great tie-in with the whole Cinco de Mayo thing, was having to share with everybody what I can't actually share with you when it comes to making videos. How to Garden asks, what zone am I in? And here in the Urban Gardener, we are growing out of Southern Oregon, and I am in Zone 8, more specifically Zone 8B. I live in a valley, so I have more of a really kind of a, I don't know, we usually, and this is something I mentioned a couple of live streams ago, we usually have a good 4 season type of area here where we're getting the good 4 seasons. Although of late in the last couple of seasons, it's really been this really moving right into summer. But the valley I live in can really get summer kicking up and heat. So I can get some of those heat and temperatures of people who live a lot more south than me during the summertime. But it can be pretty intense here. But yeah, we are in a pretty warm zone though, in Zone 8B here in Southern Oregon. And let's see. As he says, I love the bloopers. Yeah, they are fun. It's a good chance, for me to be able to kind of have a little bit of humility and kind of share with people some of that kind of. Some of it's funny, some of it's kind of like, oh my gosh, an airplane's flying over me again, that sort of thing, or certain stuff like that, that'll be in the outtakes. But it's just kind of fun to be able to kind of show that sort of stuff and share with people when you're making videos. Because if you make videos like I do, there's a lot of outtakes. There's a lot I don't show you guys, actually. There's a lot that doesn't actually get in there. But, I do like to show as much as I can, and some of the more kind of humorous ones, especially the ones that make me laugh. If I'm laughing at myself, then you're more than likely going to be seeing it in the outtakes at the end of the videos. Let's see. Another question: are you one that used to grow on your roof? Or Jimmy Pickles asks, "Are you the one that used to grow on your roof?" Yeah, that's me. Man, and I really, and I will have a few of our water wicking containers and some of our pepper varieties that we are growing. I will put up along the edge of our rooftop, and I've been doing that. That way, if I do kind of get any trouble from my landlord, because I do rent, I can take them down just really easily if I need to. But for the most part, it's just easily accessible. It's right there on the edge. But I did have a whole pepper garden that grew into, I think I had it up there for like 4 or 5 years, years before I even started doing this channel. And I started with maybe about 5 or 6 in the first year, and by the second and third year I was up to 20 some different pepper varieties that we just really utilize that space. It's a flat carport rooftop. It's a perfect space. It gets full sun all day long, and structure is very sound, so no problems with any of all of that sort of stuff. And so it was just a really great place to be able to grow. But unfortunately, I'm just not able to do that in the way that I used to. But if I owned a house, or if I had a situation of my own that I could do that sort of thing with a flat carport rooftop, I'd be back up there doing that, utilizing the space. It's a great way, especially for if you have some of those things for a carport that you can just get up on there and put up some different containers and grow some of those real sun-loving crops that, especially peppers. Like I had the pepper garden up there. Really great place to be gardening. And how to garden's nothing wrong with growing on a roof. That's right. And, in the long run, I'm sure that ultimately my landlord was thinking about liability and those sort of things. I did ultimately have a conversation with the middleman in the whole situation, and talked about, how I was willing to sign a waiver or any sort of thing like that when it comes to personal liability or anything like that, as far as hurting or injuring myself on there. So that's ultimately where I think things were coming from when it came down to it. It's just, if you've seen the video, if you go back and check out the video, they went about it in quite a harsh way for somebody who's been a long time renter of theirs. So I wasn't too happy about the approach. Ultimately, I do kind of get it from their viewpoint, but still, long run, I'm really bummed about not being able to grow those peppers up there on that rooftop. Everybody loved it too. It was really one of the driving forces on me deciding to make this gardening channel. Um, it's one of those things that's just very prevalent. It's up there, people can see it. It was up there in the neighborhood, and which was really interesting. And I'd had it up there for several years, but the first season that I started doing this channel was the first time I had, and it was really odd. It was right after marijuana legalization here in Oregon, and it was just shortly after all of that had went down. And one of the neighbors, unsure, who had a viewpoint of that carport somewhere, it called up, and we had the police show up here to get up there and inspect the carport rooftop pepper garden to make sure that I didn't have marijuana plants growing up there. And ultimately, in the long run, though, it would have been, and it wasn't like, it was one of the police who, I don't think they were like a patrol person or anything like that, or any investigator or anything, but it was just a person who was able to come by and really kind of, review with us, even though I knew the rules. They were peppers, it wasn't anything wrong, but in their mind, they were going to come let us know that, we were limited in the city, what we're allowed to grow, where we're allowed to grow, how many we're allowed to grow, if in fact those plants were marijuana plants up on the rooftop, because it was legal to have them, ultimately, if that was the case. Just not in those numbers, which ultimately I think probably could have gotten me a ticket of some sort when it comes down to it, but I think that would have been about it. Kind of glad that we live in those sort of times, or I live in that sort of place during these sort of times. I know there's places still in the country where legalization hasn't happened, and those sort of things can get you in trouble. But for me here, that probably would have just been a ticket. Renting cars. Oh gosh, mind your business. Right, exactly. In fact, that was a lot of what the comments were on that video after I put out that video and talked about that sort of thing. But again, kind of what I was talking about, what got me on to talking about that though too, was that pepper garden being up on that rooftop like it was seen by a lot of people all over in the different uh, streets and areas down around my neighborhood. And if you're walking by, you would see it. And I had a lot of people over the couple of years before I started this channel who would stop by my house and talk about and ask about the growing and the pepper garden. And and at that point in time, I'd be showing them how I grow with these water wicking buckets, and how I utilize all the small spaces that I utilize in the cement patios, and we'd end up doing some garden tour type of thing and have these long conversations about how and methods and things that I was doing to utilize the space that I was doing. And so in the long run, that's kind of how the channel kind of got started, in a sense. Was I was a big fan of other gardening channels, was watching and learning, and most all of the methods and things that I've learned were all things I've learned from other channels, other growers on YouTube. And there were a couple of things that happened with a couple of other channels that kind of, made me think a little bit and planted some seeds. And, around the time that, I was sitting there talking to one of my neighbors about some of the things that I was growing out there, just kind of, made me think like, maybe I should think about pulling out and at that time I was just using my iPhone, pulling out the iPhone and taking some video and try to make these little videos. And I'd had experience with photography and videography and those sort of things years ago, back in high school and college and all of that. So, here it was, years later, a great opportunity for me to strike up that creativity again, get back into some photography and video making and editing, and get a chance to share with everybody one of my primary passions in life, and that's gardening and growing food for myself in small spaces and limited spaces and all of that in what I have. And so I hope that everybody, enjoys that sort of content and those sort of videos that I've been making and all of that. I've gotten some really great responses over the past few seasons as we've been doing that. And, it's been really fun. I really enjoy it. Get to do these now, Wednesday live streams here with all of you guys. And, yeah, let's see here. Raptor Garter says we can grow 4 here in Ontario, up in Canada. 4, that's even less than what I'm allowed to grow here in Oregon, in Canada. But, yeah. It's something I'm sure is going to be legal for the most part. It's kind of happening every election. There's newer and newer places that are opening up and figuring out that that's just something that in the long run shouldn't be illegal, or at least to the level it is. There should be maybe some good limitations and stuff. But and then again too, there's another question I get asked a lot though. Do you grow marijuana? Grow all these things, you garden, you do all this stuff, do you grow marijuana? It's always, I get that question all the time. And no, I don't. And when I was younger, I did try. I was never ever successful or able to do that. I've never bothered with it after I failed on a couple of attempts when I was quite a bit younger. And so in the long run, I just don't necessarily bother with that or grow that and all of that. But it is probably one of the most common questions I get from people, especially when they find out I live in Oregon as well, too. Growing with Jay says, I started my channel with that same inspiration and motivation, too. This community has been great, and I am grateful. Absolutely, Jay. And, and it's kind of cool. You had a similar type of situation that I had and all of that. And one of the things I also talk about in the last couple of live streams too is kind of how I see, I call it a garden adventure. I'm kind of learning and growing and doing all this sort of stuff, but sharing those sort of things that I'm learning and growing along with everybody else has been great. But the idea of necessarily being a garden teacher or that sort of stuff, I'm kind of trying to figure out where I fit in that sort of stuff, because I do have some experience now. I do have some things I can share with people, but I'm also still, like probably most gardeners, no matter how much you really learn, we're probably always in a growing and a learning process and all of that. But it's one of the great things I get from this community and all of that is a lot of people who really reach out to me and how much they appreciate learning the certain things that I've been showing through my channel. So I've been becoming more comfortable with that idea a little bit more the more I hear from other people and hear from this community, because this community and the gardening community is really, really a great community. And and very motivational for me. You know, when you hear that sort of stuff, it's really kind of, you know, inspiring and keeps you going forward and keeps my creative side working when it comes to making videos and sharing the garden and all of that sort of stuff. You know, I really do like that. But again, you know, we do, you know, have a lot of things growing in our gardens. I hope that you guys have a lot of stuff growing and going well in your gardens. There are a lot of things that don't necessarily work out and don't, and, you know, don't quite work out the way we want them to. I like to be able to share some of that stuff with a lot of people too. Some of the things I don't necessarily see very often with some of the more mainstream channels in some sense. There's a lot of, you know, showing you how to get things started, but not the whole, like, this is kind of some results of some of the things that I tried, you know, because there's failure out there, you know, and I like to be able to show that with everybody else as well too. I don't know where I'm kind of coming along with all that stuff. I'm at that babbling phase of the live stream now, I guess. It kind of happens to me here a little bit, and especially on days like today where I've just been sucking down the water. It is really, really warm. I almost wish I had the AC kind of set up and going here in this room already this year, because it's really, really starting to get warm already. All right, let's see. Hello, everyone. Living life in the slow lane with Paul and Randy joining us again this week on the Wednesday live stream. Thanks for joining us. And they said, we grow our gardens in northern Wisconsin. Awesome. Well, how are things growing in northern Wisconsin? And for all of you out there, I think we've got some growing here up in Canada, up in the Northeast, up there. So you guys are all in a little bit cooler climates than I'm growing in. So how are all of your gardens growing? Are you able to get started with some of your other more warm crops, or those things that you're kind of holding off on? Um, so I'll throw some questions at all of you guys out there too. And if you're not here on the live stream and you're here following along on the replay, just get down in that comment section down below and let us know all of that too. How things are growing for you, how things are growing for you in your zones, the sort of things that you're growing this year, you know. Brampton Garner says, my cool crops are in and doing well. How to garden. Says it's outright hot down here in Florida already. So yeah, How to Garden's down in Florida, a little bit more south, I can imagine. So you guys are just really got the warm weather starting to kick in for you guys down there. I just can't imagine with what I'm already dealing with right now and how warm it is already right now. I can't imagine what it's like to be down in more of those southern zones. Let's see here. Tulips are just going to open this week. So that's down up in Canada, or up in Canada there too. So yeah, your tulips are just going. All of my tulips are already done. My tulips have bloomed, sat for, you know, quite a while. Really got some really stunning ones this year too, from some of the ones that we just planted the last year. So they're in their second year. Had some really great colors and some really great ones that came up this year. It's one of the favorite things of the year is when those tulips and daffodils and those sort of things start popping up and coming up, and you know, because they're one of those first things that start coming up and letting you know that the growing season is getting on its way, and so I love seeing those flowers popping up. So but yeah, for me though, being in a warmer zone, a lot more south than you up there in Canada. My tulips have already grown and bloomed and are already finished for the year. That's the sad thing about them too, though, is that they only got just boom and then done and then that's it. And you got to deal with it. And that's probably one of the things, though, you got to kind of be used to with gardening, you know, as things go, is that we all like to see our plants growing. We like to see them, you know, getting there. But once they've done their thing or this and that, you know, for some plants, like potatoes and things, they all got to die off, and so you got to kind of watch that process of them dying off and all of that too, as that sort of thing happens. So it's kind of sad to see all of those early flowers in our garden, dying off, but that just welcomes in the next phase of our season, and we're on to the next one when it comes to that too. Let's see here. So happy if I can plant more in the fall. Yep, yep. In fact, I've got a couple of areas that I'm going to be doing as I keep expanding myself around this whole alleyway area. But I have one spot that's over by another neighbor of mine that's just a little bit further down the alleyway, that's just kind of been junk and things, and it's really kind of a receptacle for a lot of people who are just walking through the alleyway. And I figured the reason why is because that's what it looks like. It looks like a place where you just kind of toss things and stuff. So we're going to clean that up and clean up that area this later in the season, heading towards fall, and then I'm going to get out some more of them early blooming bulbs and just fill out that whole area and just make it a really nice flower garden and that sort of thing. We'll mix in things so it'll be blooming and growing throughout the season too. So that's kind of the plan with that down the way too. So let's see. Oh, so daffodils are blooming now. So did love tulips, and so did the deer. Yeah. Oh my. I know the deer love those things. That's why you got to grow a lot of them, I guess, right? Try to keep some for yourself, maybe. Let's see, and the daffodils blooming now as well too. Irises are ready to pop. My irises are just now. I've got some of them that are just now starting to put out their flower stem. So I'm looking forward to that, maybe here coming up real soon with some of our different irises that I have. And then I've got, let's see, some African lilies too that are popping up and looking like they're about ready to set some of their flowers here soon as well too. So I'm looking forward to some of those when they start coming out as well. Oh yeah, yeah. If you think about it too, the I guess that would be the longitude or latitude, the latitude, 44 degrees latitude. Yeah, really further south than Salem. Wow. Yeah, well, that's cool. So you're not that far north of where, for what I am too. But yeah, I am maybe just that far enough south from you though too, where all of those flowers have actually already kind of gone through their process though too. Let's see. Zone are you in? I'm 5B. If that question's for me, again, I'm in Zone 8 here in Southern Oregon, and so you're Granny Sam is 5B, so again, a lot more further north, a lot cooler zone than what I'm in here. Yeah, the lakes, that makes a lot more sense there too, that you get that cool, being a little more in the center of the continent, I guess you would say, maybe too, or something. But yeah, let's see. And that's zone 6A. Yeah. So it's still, it's still two zones ahead. What would, in a sense, be two zones north of me as far as being cooler in that sense, though, as well. Let's see, Paula and Randy say we're in zone 3A. Yep, still a lot cooler. And then How to Garden's 9B. Yeah, 9B, almost a 10 down there in Florida. Lots of crazy things there. Growing with Jay is, wow, where is 3A? Yeah, 3A. Well, excellent though. Again, thank you all so much for joining with me. I love having this conversation with everybody here on Wednesdays. Uh, Getting the stream going here and getting all of you joining with me here. Talk about our gardening, talk about our zones. How to Garden says 2 miles from 10A. Yeah, so you're just right there. You almost say you're a 10 or or a 9B, but yeah, that's great. That's just a really warm, really yeah, I think about Florida. I've had some friends down there and wanting to go down there and visit and all of that. I just, I'm not sure how well I would be able to handle the transition from gardening where I'm at to gardening in that sort of zone as well. But yeah, I do like warm weather though. That is one of the things I do like about where I live is that we have some really great warm summers. All right, let's see here. We're looking at about an hour into our live stream there. It's like shoe sizes. Yep. So yeah, 3B was or 3, right? Was that 3B? 3A, northern Wisconsin. Excellent. And again, I hope all of you are doing great and your gardens are growing good. My question for everybody, real quick. What are you growing this year that you're most excited about growing? Is there anything new you're growing this year, or is it pretty much similar? Is there something that you grow every year that excites you? That sort of thing. Um, this year, I'm growing, I mentioned a couple live stream, I'm growing loofah gourd. I'm trying a couple of other kind of vining things in another project I'll be sharing in a video coming up as well too. So hopefully I'll be able to get that put together. So I'm going to be trying a couple of those things. So that's kind of what's got me kind of excited, is to see about how well that'll work out. Because if I can get some of these cool vining things to grow where I want them to, that's just going to kind of add to some of the um, space use, the ability to use the space that I have. When you're able to kind of trellis or garden and utilize some vertical space, it's really good for small space gardening. As much as you can possibly do that sort of stuff. So we're working on a project doing some of that sort of stuff with our space in the back patio area. So hopefully I'll get that put together for you all to be able to see in one of our upcoming videos that we're going to do. But yeah, for me, growing some of those vining and vining gourds and squashes and things like that I'm going to be doing this year is going to be some of the things that I'm pretty excited about growing in my garden. So how about you guys? What do you got growing this year that you're excited about growing? How to Garden is talking about Florida there too and catching up here. Most vegetables are done in the winter here. Yeah, like I said, that would be a big adjustment for me to be able to try to make that transition to that sort of growing zone down there in Florida. And I'm sure it would be for most anybody here on the live stream to be able to do that. So all power to you to be able to be successful, grow things in that sort of zone. It's really great. Brandon Gardner says all things, like, and I'm sure that's what I was saying about excited about growing all things. And I am about everything. I love growing all this stuff. I love bringing my garden to life every year with all the different varieties of things that I grow. I like growing multiple varieties of different things. Like tomatoes, we grow maybe a dozen different varieties of tomatoes. our pepper gardens. I think I've got 20 different varieties. We've got probably about 50 different plants, all sorts of different stuff. I get really excited when I see the different new things and seed catalogs, and I want to start and try growing a lot of stuff. One of the things I have been trying to do though is kind of being just a little bit more disciplined to growing certain things for production for myself. Because I do have that, that thing, us gardeners, we just love all this stuff. If something's new, I want the seed, I want to try growing it. But one of the things that I'm really trying to do is produce a lot of the stuff that I'm using and eating. And so I'm really trying to, eat more out of the spaces that I have and see what I'm capable of doing in that. So that is one of my challenges I have for myself this year. But I still, I can't help myself grabbing something, trying to grow something just a little bit different that I haven't tried before, or a different variety of something that I haven't tried before. I just love growing all sorts of stuff. But, so I feel the same about that for sure. Loofah is fun. So it's new cut flowers. And flowers is something I've literally only gotten into over the last couple of seasons. So a lot of those tulips and things that I've been talking about are new things to me over the last couple of seasons. Just really trying to invite more pollinators and more life and all that sort of stuff to the garden spaces that I have. More color, all that sort of stuff, It's not like I don't get enough flowers and all that sort of stuff out of all of the different vegetation and vegetables and fruits that I grow. We get, tons of them anyways, but some of these really cool flowers are nice to have in your gardens. And so I've been, adding those in little by little throughout the last couple of seasons. Loofah is fun, so is jelly melon. Yeah, I'm excited to see about how the loofah does, and see how that's. I've got this place and this way I want it to vine, and I just think it would look really cool if it vines out just the way that's another channel I watch. They're not really a gardening channel, but they have one of their neighbors has a garden, and they had this loofah gourd vine just growing up this way. And when I saw it, I was just like, "Wow, that is what I need to not only to grow loofah, but to also accent the garden just a little bit more, having this vine grow in a certain way." So I'm hoping that works out really well. And let's see, I got my jelly melon and cucamelon seedlings mixed up. I need to sort them out somehow. Yeah, well, in the long run, it might be hard to tell, until you get into until those plants get really growing, or maybe even start setting fruit. I'm not even sure. Unless, of course, you do have some experience and know the difference of what the more mature plant looks like of one of those plants, and you can tell when it gets to a certain size as a start before you plant it out. But yeah, I get things mixed up all the time. I have actually a few mystery things right now too, and a couple of my pepper seedlings got mixed when they were getting seeded out too. So I might have to wait until those peppers start blooming on there, because I don't necessarily the difference between the two varieties that I grow. There are some varieties that I can tell right off the bat whether or not they are one or another, but some you just can't tell. Let's see. So many things. Excited about so many things, Paul and Randy. Okra in containers, loofah starting inside, and mortgage lifter tomatoes. I hear that mortgage lifters are a really good variety. I usually seed out my own varieties. I get from other people, or I'll get from different seed suppliers. But mortgage lifters, when I'm out like at nurseries or garden centers or different places, I see mortgage lifter all the time in some of those plants that are already growing. And so so I haven't really thought about grabbing one of them. Maybe I should, or getting some seeds or something like that and try that variety sometime, maybe next season for our tomato garden that we've got in our gardens, but yeah, I see that one all the time, and I've heard it's a really good tomato. And then okra in containers. We talked about okra last week, I think. I haven't had a chance to grow okra yet. I've only tried okra once in like gumbo, that I've had before. I really like it. I really like that, but I've never had it in anything else or tried it before. So maybe it will be one of those things I'll try growing this next season, just so I can grow something and have an opportunity to be able to try and cook with it and make some things that I haven't tried before myself. That's a great thing about gardening, though, too, is having that opportunity to also try things that you haven't tried before. I was a stingy kid when it came to vegetables when I was a kid. So me being a gardener growing up and enjoying and having a passion for growing food and vegetables and all that sort of stuff is kind of different. And I suppose my parents would probably look at that and be like, that is really weird for how many times you got stuck at the table looking at a pile of spinach or peas or something like that I would completely refuse to eat when I was a kid. But nowadays, I just can't grow enough of it. I can't eat enough of different things and trying new things and different things and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, definitely looking to maybe try an okra. Let's see. How to garden. I got a new plum and star fruit this year. And my pomegranate is growing. It's blown. I'm not sure if that's the right word. It's first time. Um, but star fruit and pomegranate and all of that, though, too. Things that, yeah, I'm not going to be growing here. But really awesome that you're able to grow those sort of things in your zone. And it would be the fun about, I guess, going back to the idea of living in a zone like that is to be able to grow and have the opportunity to grow some of those things that I don't have the opportunity to grow in my zone. Let's see here. Growing tiny tomato plants with big tomatoes on them. New big dwarf 506 bush and bush beefsteak. Oh, nice. I'm trying a different beefsteak variety myself too this year, and you're talking about tiny tomato plants. One of the tomato varieties I'm growing is a Baker Creek variety that is just a small plant. It's a determinate plant that just grows just about so big. That's it, and has like these small orange like cherry tomatoes on it. So I've never tried really like a dwarf sized tomato plant that grows full size tomatoes. That would be pretty cool. Jelly is really prickly. No, not yet. Jelly melon gets really prickly. Yeah. Um, when I first grew my very first, and I tell this story before, and I've told it, and I tell it all the time, anyways, is that I grow a lot of already house plants. As you can see, I've been doing this and growing these. My mother showed me to propagate and do house plants when I was a young kid. But it wasn't until about 10, 11 years ago or so that I grew my first plant, fruiting plant, and grew my own food for the first time. And it was a friend who gave me a cucumber plant, and he didn't know what to do with it. He was like, "You grow plants. I figured you know what to do with it." I'd never grew anything that had that fruited and grew food before, so it was new to me. So we got it growing on my balcony in this apartment I lived up in the Seattle area, and it grew, man. That cucumber took over the whole balcony ledge and all of that sort of stuff, and grew several different fruits. But the one thing that really surprised me about growing the cucumber was how prickly they get. I mean, those things, you go in and reach in and just grab a cucumber, man. That's like almost like going in and grabbing a rose bush sometimes. They can put out some really good spikes on them. And that was the thing that really surprised me the most, because I'd had many years of loving cucumbers. Cucumbers were actually one of those first vegetables as a picky kid when I was young that was real easy for me to eat because it was just sweet and juicy and has this really great flavor to it. So I easily, like my daughter too, loves cucumbers. It completely surprised me when I reached to grab one of my first cucumbers off that plant, and it was like, whoa, yeah, wait a minute, I was not expecting that cucumber to bite back, basically. All right. Reverend Gardner says, I'm trying Mortgage Lifter too. Excellent. Paul and Randy says that one of the things they're looking forward to growing this year is a non-habanero, heatless habanero, one or also called habanada by some people as well too. And I first had my first interaction with that type of pepper plant was up at the Noble Rot rooftop garden up on this 4-story building in downtown Portland. I went and did a video up there and did a feature video showing this really cool rooftop garden in the middle of the city of Portland, Oregon. And that's where I first saw my first habanada plant. I was really surprised that they don't have any heat and taste just like a habanero. So I did eventually get myself some seeds and am growing one of those myself here too. That we've got one in our pepper seedlings down below here somewhere, and yeah, so I'm looking forward to having one of those growing myself this year. I also have what's also called a tam jalapeno, and this one is a near heatless jalapeno. Still got a little bit to it, but nothing at all, when it comes to heat, really. And let's see here. How to garden. Okra likes hot, and it does best direct sowing. Those are good points right there. The one question I would have though with okra, because of saying that it's direct sowing, is and if you know is if it's direct sowing, how long is the growing for season? I mean, how many days till maturity, basically, on a plant like that? And I'm pretty sure I would have. I'm pretty sure in my growing zone, I'm going to have enough days for most things, but for direct sowing on a warm weather crop like that that likes a lot of heat for a lot of people out there is probably not something they're going to, season. Granny Sam says, I like Boxcar Willie. Boxcar Willie. Yes, this is a tomato that I've never grown myself, but I know a lot about because of one of my favorite gardeners on YouTube is Ray Browning over at Praxis 55712. And Ray grows the Boxcar Willie, or has in seasons past on his channel, and really good tomato. And I know if he says it's a really good tomato, I'm pretty sure that it's a great tomato. So still another one that I haven't had a chance to try yet, but have heard a lot about. Boxcar Willie. I am growing a few different varieties of Rays that I seeded out. I do have, what is it? It has a cherry tomato called Rapunzel we're going to try out this year. And then Mule Team. Mule Team is a variety that he grows in his gardens right now. And he sent me out some of those seeds of his this year too to grow. So I'll be trying his Mule Team tomato as well, as every year that since I first got the seeds. And it's a story I tell too as well about when I first got those seeds. I felt like I won this mega prize from this great channel that I watched for years before I started my own channel. and I got these seeds for his Praxis cherry tomato, the Prax cherry tomato that he grew there, and he developed and grew that into a, um, I consider it a heirloom myself, because it's definitely a pollinated, or a true pollinated seed, and so it grows true every single year without a problem, and he's grown it for several generations, and it's got a great story behind it. Including his channel and a lot of us gardeners who are viewers of his channel who have gotten those seeds and grow that cherry tomato in our gardens and all that. So I consider it an heirloom, but that Prax cherry tomato seeds itself in my garden every single year. I have an area where I just let it drop seeds, and it comes back every year for me, and just probably one of the most delicious tomatoes I have in the whole garden, and it volunteers for me every single year. It's great. And what is Boxcar Willie? Well, Boxcar Willie is a tomato variety, so it's a tomato. I think it's a larger, more of a, I don't know if it's like a beefsteak or not, but it's a good larger tomato, I believe. Again, I haven't tried it, haven't had a chance to grow it myself, but really great tomato as far as word on the gardening street here on YouTube is. All right, and let's see, okra is actually a perennial, but most people grow them seasonal, 100 to 120 days in most cases. Okay, so that's not too long of a growing season for it. I'm sure would work out pretty well in my zone, and not sure though exactly for zones. You would have to be able to look at that if you are more northern and you've got a zone as far as the idea of direct seeding something that's a warm weather crop like that. That's something you're going to want to direct seed towards the closer to your last frost date. You'll want to know whether or not 120 days is going to be enough time for you to be able to get a crop off of your okra. But yeah, see, and that's the thing I worry about. Paula and Randy talks about being, because they're up there more northern, especially like in zone 3. That's really, really a lot. Direct seeding a warm season, especially and the thing is, I find that other than tomatoes just will grow. I have no problem. I never need heat mats. I never need anything to get tomatoes to germinate right. But warm weather crops like peppers and the eggplant that I've grown from seed, those things are just really temperamental and take their time early on when they're seedlings. And and one thing to say though is when they do decide to start growing, they do start growing. They really, really take their time growing. So I worry about whether or not something in a cooler zone that's warm weather like that will be able to make it to to be able to fruit for someone in that sort of situation. So as much as it might be difficult, or they might grow better for, say, if you direct sow, for a lot of people in more northern places, you might have to try to start those ahead of time. And again, though, too, things that are temperamental in transplanting it, if that's the case with okra, because I don't know necessarily. But the one thing I know about things that have a hard time with transplanting is a lot because they really want to spread their roots. So they like to be in there, and when their roots get going, they want to spread their roots, and they don't like their roots to get caged in at all, or get bunched up, when they're in smaller containers, if you're trying to get a head start. So one thing I would say though too is if you could grow something, that's in that situation in a much larger container, in a more warm spot, whether it's indoors or in a greenhouse or something that's going to get the temperature up a bit more and get you to have a head start in growing that particular crop, you can start it in something that's a much larger container. That'll give that seedling a lot of time to really be able to expand. And then the only problem then is you got to dig a bigger hole. You're going to want to take as much of that soil along with the root ball as well and get it right into the garden space that you're going to be using it in. Or if you're just growing in a container, grow it in the big container, the biggest container that you're going to use in your garden. Have it in the greenhouse or indoors. Just take that whole container outdoors when it's time of the year. Okay. Hey, let's see again. Looking at, yep, about, again, I can't believe the time is just flying like that too, though. That's one of the great things I love about this Wednesday live stream here on the Urban Gardener is the opportunity to get with all of you great gardeners out there and to be able to share with you in this gardening community and have an opportunity to conversate about our gardens and talk about okra and growing zones and all of that sort of thing with all of you and be able to share with each other some of our gardening experiences too. I'm really glad that you've all come along with me and joined with me on this live stream this week. We are, like I just checked, going on about an hour and a half of live streaming here. I'm pretty sure that's about the end for us today. Again, a lot of things going on. Look forward to some videos on our channel coming out here this week. Again, I think I'm got myself paced all right. We should have a Sunday upload every Sunday as well as other content as it comes out throughout the week too. I'll put stuff out as well throughout the week, but you can definitely look forward to a new video, new episode of our channel of our garden on Sundays. Those will be out, and then again, always here 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here on YouTube for our Wednesday live stream here. And again, let's see here too. Hit that thumbs up button actually before we leave, before you go. Let us know you're here. And if you're watching on the replay, get down in that comment section. Let us know that you were here too as well. I love hearing from all of you guys. I get a lot of great compliments and comments from all of you. It's really, really appreciated here on this channel. We're not that big of a channel. We're just out here in our small little corner of the gardening world on social media. And it's just really great to have you all with me here. And it's just, again, really inspiring and glad to have a conversation, be able to share with you guys any sort of things. And allow me to just babble on here too, because I can just get running sometimes when it comes to certain things. So again, everybody, here, let me real quick look through here. Thanks for the helpful tips. Growing have their own unique challenges. Yes, and that's what I love about gardening is gardening has its own unique challenges, whether or not you're in different zones, different areas, in different gardens. My garden compared to someone right down the street could be a lot different too, and it could be a completely different challenge for different people. But that's the fun of gardening, is getting in and growing, learning those sort of things, and having the opportunity to be able to grow these great plants that grow for us in the long run, being able to grow our own food, which I'm really passionate about, that idea of growing our own food in small space gardening. And again, thank you all so much. Thanks, Nancy. Thanks, Paula and Randy. How to Garden, Growing with Jay, all of you who've joined with us, Granny Sam, everybody, Brampton Gardener. Let's see here. I don't want to leave anybody out. I think we got most everybody. Jay. Yeah, thank you all so much for joining with me. And again, hopefully I'll have checked the main page here. Hopefully in a day or two, I'll have a link all set up for our next Wednesday live stream. So be sure to hit the reminder for that, so you'll be reminded when it comes up this next week. And again, I'll see you all again this very next week, this very next Sunday, on our next live stream. See you all later, gardeners.